What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB. Still on vacation, still got the secondary setup, just chilling in the corner at the mom's house. That's just the way it is in this one. So appreciate everybody for being here. If you guys have fantasy football questions here in week 16 of the fantasy football season, that's what this live stream is for. So what we got today, Q&A, going to be answering all of those start sits that you might have. Also going to be talking a little bit about some of the game that happened yesterday. We did have a Thursday night football game. The Los Angeles Chargers ended up winning this football game. There was some fantasy football implications. Justin Herbert had a decent game. Bo Nix had a decent game. Ladd McConkey had a decent game. I would say the running back situation for Denver wasn't great. Gus Edwards, if you played him, first of all, you got some nuts on you if you played Gus Edwards. I didn't play him. I wouldn't have played him. It hadn't been good. He scored 2 touchdowns, so it was a decent day for him as well. But overall, very solid game. Start of the game for the Broncos, it was like Devon Vele, Michael Burton getting touchdowns, Audric Estime getting touchdowns. So there really wasn't a ton of I can't say there was really a ton of players in there that were fantasy football relevant at the beginning. So just wanted to touch on that one. Like I said today, start sit questions are going to be answered. As always, if you guys want to support the show, if you always want to go play over on Underdog, you can use our code League FFB. When you sign up, that is going to get you up to $1,000 in bonus cash. They'll give you a free pick'em entry, a free pick'em play on your pick'em entry. That way you guys can hopefully get a win on your first play. Like I said, get some free money as well. So that does support the show. Now, like I mentioned, this is what we're here for today. The first question in the chat is by Chandler. So Chandler says, it looks like it's a 3-part question here. He has Flex Debo or Adam Thielen. So when I'm looking at these two players, I like Thielen a little bit more as a play, especially because he mentions PPR. I can almost guarantee that he's going to get more receptions. Debo hasn't been good for a couple of weeks now. It's a tougher matchup for Debo against Miami. They haven't been very good, or they've been very good against the wide receiver position, which means it's not going to be very good for Debo Samuel. Probably would be playing Thielen there. Now for the Packers and the Falcons defense question, I am going to go with the Packers question, or go with the Packers as the answer. Right now, they're going to be playing against New Orleans. New Orleans gets Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is prone to turnovers. Probably going to be playing him. They are my number one defense on the week. I do have them as number one in my rankings. Now, for the other question, Purdy, AOC, and Penix as the potential quarterbacks that you're going to be playing in a 6-point passing touchdown league, I am going to go with Brock Purdy. Look, I understand that it hasn't been great for Brock Purdy over the last couple of weeks. AOC is not a good option to play. I'm not very comfortable playing AOC at all. I know that Penix is an interesting option to potentially be playing. I'm not going to be playing Penix over Brock Purdy. I think you can still play Penix. When I look at where I have him in my rankings currently, this is a guy right now who is currently sitting. Sorry, I'm letting it refresh right now. This is currently a guy who I have sitting right now as like a high-end mid-tier QB2 this week. I'm probably going to be playing him in that 20... I'd say that 18 to 22 range right now for me. So I'm probably going to be playing Michael Penix Jr. there, but when it's against Brock Purdy, definitely going to be playing Brock Purdy. So let's go to Nick's question. Nick has a question saying, both of my starting quarterbacks got benched on my bye. That's tough. Do we think that Jameis, Kirk, Hendon Hooker, or Flacco have any chance of playing? I'm cooked. Yeah, this is tough, man. Jameis, Kirk, Hendon Hooker, or Flacco have any chance of playing? I feel like the only guy that I'm confident, or at least any type of confident in potentially getting some playing time this week would be Jameis Winston. If Dorian Thompson-Robinson goes out there and plays poorly, which he's prone to do, I think there's a chance that maybe you do have Jameis come back out there. So he would be the only guy I think you could. I don't think Penix gets benched for Kirk at this point. I don't think Jared Goff gets benched for Hendon Hooker at this point. Flacco, probably don't see that happening either. So, yeah, that's really tough, man. I'm sorry that both those guys got benched, but I think Jameis is your last-ditch effort here. Johnny, my guy, appreciate you for being here, Johnny. He says, what's up, bro? Do you think Estime's value is long-term after last night? He still hasn't distanced himself from the other backs, in my opinion. Yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation because Audric Estime, to me, he's probably one of the more valuable backs in this backfield because I do not expect Javonte Williams to be there long-term. If I'm not mistaken, Javonte Williams is a free agent this offseason. There's a chance that he's going to go play elsewhere. I don't expect the Denver Broncos to pay him money unless he takes a very cheap deal. Estime was drafted by Sean Payton in this regime. I think he kind of profiles as that big early down grinder. We saw a little bit of what's his name? Watson. I can't remember his middle name or his other name. Something Watson. We saw Watson last night as well. He was looking pretty decent. I think if I had to pick between those guys going forward, I think Estime is probably the guy that I would bet on, but I'm not betting, a ton on him. I think he's probably going to be the early down grinder. And that's if they don't draft somebody in this upcoming draft class. Who knows? So I think he has a little bit of value. He would probably be the guy in the backfield that I would most likely be wanting to take a shot on. But again, I'm not spending a lot, and I'm not willing to pay a lot to have him on the roster. And if somebody's willing to pay a lot, I'm willing to give up on him too. What do we got, Johnny? Sorry guys, I've been golfing all day, and now I feel like my allergies are picking up. I got runny eyes and my nose itches and everything, so I've been out golfing, and I feel like my allergies all over. So if I'm like itching my face, it's because I'm trying not to cry on stream right now because my eyes are watering. Johnny, Matthew Stafford, CJ Stroud, or Cooper Rush this week? Oh, man. I think for me, when I'm looking at my rankings right now, Matthew Stafford currently sits as my QB 15. CJ Stroud, it's not a good matchup for CJ. I probably wouldn't be playing CJ. He is sitting as my QB 21. Now, Cooper Rush is sitting as my QB 20. So I guess with that being said, the answer for me is going to be Matthew Stafford. He gets the Jets. They're 14th against the quarterback position. So I would play Matthew Stafford here, Johnny. Where are we next? Frederick. Start 2, Breece Hall, Jordan Addison, Adam Thielen. I'm concerned about the rain in Seattle on Sunday. I'm torn. Yeah, I think with the start 2 here, I've been hearing a lot about the rain as well. I don't know how much rain it's going to be. It sounds like it's going to be a decent amount. Adam Thielen's safe, man. He has a safe floor. I think he's going to get at least, he's a guy that you can plug in and feel like he's going to give you at least 12 PPR points. So I understand if you want to do that. However, my only other advice is that this is the fantasy football playoffs, and in order for you to win, you should probably swing for the fences. So if you're going to swing for the fences, I think Jordan Addison is the play. I think Breece Hall is the play. I'd play both of those guys. But if you feel like you have the projections and you feel like you're a team that has the upper hand and you just want a safe floor, Breece Hall and Adam Thielen is the play. But for me, I would go out personally if this was my lineup and go Breece and Jordan Addison. Alenda, who to start full PPR? Kenneth Walker. I also have Charbonnet or Rachaad White. Jaden Daniels or Jordan Love, DJ Moore or Rico Dowdle as a flex. So full PPR, Kenneth Walker or Rachaad White. I would definitely go Kenneth Walker. I'd be playing him over Rachaad White. Even if it's Charbonnet, I'm playing Charbonnet over Rachaad White. But it sounds like Kenneth Walker is going to be playing this week. So I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker there. Jaden Daniels or Jordan Love. Looking at my rankings right now, Jaden Daniels is currently my QB 6. Jordan Love is my QB 7. The matchup is a little bit better for Jordan Love. In fact, it's quite a bit better for Jordan Love. I still think Jaden Daniels has the rushing upside. I still think he's a guy that I'm going to still end up playing. There is a chance even too that they're going to be playing from behind, whereas the Green Bay Packers could be playing from ahead. And if they're playing from ahead, they're going to be handing the football off to Josh Jacobs. So I'm definitely going to go with Jaden Daniels there. DJ Moore and Rico Dowdle as the flex. I'm kind of worried a little bit about this Bears offense still. I think Rico Dowdle has been very good for the Cowboys. He hasn't gotten into the end zone. The PPR upside hasn't really been there, but last week he ran for like $125. I think it might have been even more. Rico Dowdle is probably the guy that I'm going to play in the flex. So Jaden Daniels, Kenneth Walker, and Rico Dowdle. What do we got here? Yo, in a non-PPR, start 1 at flex. Tajay Spears, if Pollard doesn't go. Jerome Ford, Khalil Shakir, Devonta Smith. My other 2 RBs are Rachaad White and Breece Hall. So if I'm only starting one flex, the one flex for me is going to be Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith has a good matchup against Washington. He has been having a couple good weeks stacked on top of each other now. Devonta Smith, he has the most upside. It's going to be a competitive game. He would be my play there. Now, if you're looking for, I still think he probably might have highest touchdown odds too. Jerome Ford, I like Jerome Ford this week. He should have the majority of the backfield. He would be my other guy that I'm looking at. He should have the majority of the backfield, but I'm nervous about the efficiencies of the offense with Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So I think I'm going to play Devontae there. Second option would probably be Ford. I don't fully expect Spears to end up being the guy. I think Pollard's going to play this week, personally. But I guess if he doesn't, that's the answer, or the question is asking that. So still going to be the same. Devonta Smith for me. Liked, first of all, Skull, Caleb Williams, or Drake May this weekend. Thanks, bud. Okay, I like this question. For me, it's going to be Caleb Williams. I like him for fantasy just a little bit more. I have Caleb Williams right now as my QB 19. Drake May is sitting as my QB 23 in the rankings. Buffalo's defense is pretty good. Caleb, he gets Detroit, but Detroit, they're 20th against the QB position right now. Probably going to play him. He's going to be having to play keep up as well, so should have the opportunity to throw the football a ton, even if he's not the best at it this weekend. So appreciate you. Thank you for liking the stream. Thank you for being here supporting, and of course, Skull, baby. So Caleb Williams is the answer for me. Gucci, Patrick Taylor, or Ramondre, and Kendre Miller or Keenan Allen. I'm going to go Keenan Allen over Kendre Miller. I'm going to go... I think I'm going to go Ramondre over Patrick Taylor. Patrick Taylor makes me nervous this week, man. I know that the 49ers running back typically comes in and does well, but we're like down to like, these guys weren't even on the practice, like they weren't even on the practice squad a few weeks ago. So I'm a little bit nervous about this. I think Ramondre would be my play and Keenan Allen would be my play here. Andreas, we got Aaron Jones or T. Higgins, PPR. That's a good question. I'm going to have to reference the rankings here. Right now, Aaron Jones is currently sitting as my running back. Where do I have him? Aaron Jones is sitting as my running back 17 in my rankings this week. Now, we talked about the rain in the Seattle. They might have to lean on the run game a little bit more. Maybe he moves up. When you look at T. Higgins is currently sitting as my wide receiver. Wide receiver 14. So I think they're both kind of similar plays. I'm going to lean Aaron Jones, though. I think Aaron Jones in the PPR, he's going to get the checkdowns. He's going to get the running work. He's probably my play there. Dixon says, yo, I've been saying this every week, but I can't thank you enough, brother. From 2-6 all the way to the championship this week. Need to choose between Shakir, Ridley, Pollard, Judy, and Jerome Ford. One flex, PPR. Damn, dude, I appreciate it, and thank you for continuing to say it, man. It means a lot, really, for just, crediting me a little bit for that. I'm going to say don't credit me the full way. You make the lineup decisions. I just am here to bounce ideas off of, so I appreciate you, Dixon. What I'm going to do with these players there, here, one flex in a PPR, I kind of want to go Khalil Shakir, man. He's the guy that I trust the most. Josh Allen is the quarterback that I trust the most. Judy would be interesting if it wasn't DTJ or DTR. I really can't trust Judy right now with Dorian under center. I'm going Shakir. He's my play. He's going to be the guy that I think has the safest floor, and I think he has a similar ceiling to pretty much all of these guys. The other option for me would maybe be Pollard if he plays. So those would be my two. Shakir's the guy, though. Also, Drake May or Jordan Love, worried that Green Bay will be up so much that it's just a running back show. I hear you, and I think that there is a situation where that happens. I'm still going Jordan Love over Drake May. Tyson says, start one, Tracy, Ford, ETN, Taylor Jr., or Stevenson. I think I'm going to play Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy is the guy that I think I have the highest in my rankings. I'm just double checking. It's going to be between him and I think it's going to be between him and Ford. Tyrone is currently sitting. Now we do got to be careful because Tyrone has an ankle injury as well, but I think it's between him and Ford. And I just actually double checked. Ford actually does have the higher rank for me right now, so I guess we'll go Ford. My gut wanted to go Tracy, but I do have him lower in my rankings, so I guess we're gonna go with Ford here. Marcy says, same decision this week, Higgins versus McLaurin. I probably would be going with Higgins this week. It's tough for me to trust Terry McLaurin against this Eagles secondary, but you still got to play him if you don't have great options, and I think Higgins is a great option this week. Six Ring says, hashtag rebuilds only. Who you taking one-on-one rookie drafts in a 2025 Superflex League? Yeah. It's tough, man. It's gonna be landing spots, but I think pretty much anybody and everybody's gonna tell you right now the 101 is most likely going to be Ashton Jeanty. I think Ashton Jeanty is gonna get first round draft capital. I think he's gonna be in a situation where they're gonna bell cow him. Don't let it get twisted. Jeanty is as good of a running back prospect as we've seen over the last 5 years. I think he's right there with Bijan. I still think Bijan is better as a prospect, but I think he's right there with him. It's probably going to be GT for me. But what that means is that if I'm in a super flex rebuild and I need quarterback, that 101 is going to be worth a lot. You could probably trade it back. I'm probably going to make a pick of Shador or Cam Ward if you need the QB in the super flex. But for me right now, the top 3 players in this draft right now for my super flex rookie drafts is going to be GT, Shador, and Tedero McMillan. I think those are the top 3 guys for me at the moment. Drew, Najee or Spears, half PPR. Well, assuming that Spears is the full-time starter, because if he is not the starter and Tony Pollard goes, this isn't a question. It's Najee for me. If it's Spears versus Najee and Pollard is not on the field, I'm going to go Tajay Spears. But it's all going to come down to Pollard. If Pollard plays, it's Najee for me, no questions. Mr. King, Dynasty League, trade offer, Aaron Jones or ETN. Give me ETN. Dynasty League, I want ETN. I still think he's going to be fine long-term. He's still going to have a couple more years. Aaron Jones, that window's going to shut very quickly, if not, by the NFL draft. I think Minnesota could potentially move on from Aaron Jones. Maybe they bring him in on a vet deal, but I think they're going to be drafting at least a running back in this backfield, or maybe going into free agency and getting one. But this running back room is going to get added another piece in it going into next season. Luca, pick 2, full PPR, JSN, Tracy, B-Rob, Kenneth Walker, Jerome Ford, or Kendre Miller. Need the upside plays. Also, should I start the Vikings defense? Good question about the Vikings defense. I will tell you right now, I would consider it, definitely, because I have the Vikings right now as a top 3 play in my rankings. So I would definitely be considering it. The only other defenses that I would maybe consider above the Vikings this week would be Atlanta and Green Bay. Those are the only 2, because you got Rattler and you got Drew Lock. But Minnesota would be right after that. So I would be playing Minnesota as the top 3 defense this week. For the 2 picks in a full PPR, I definitely need to have Kenneth Walker in there. And I think you got to go Jason too. I think you have to play both of the Seattle players. Those are the top 2 players on this board, I think, for me. So I'd have to go with both of them, Kenneth Walker and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Dynasty League, out of the playoffs, Aaron Jones or ETN. Out of the playoffs, it's definitely ETN still. Marcy, start 3, Puka, Higgins, Adams, Thielen, Flowers, full PPR. It's going to be the first 3 for me. Puka, Higgins, and Devontae Adams. Those are the top 3. Kyle, PPR, sit one of these guys. McLaurin, Thielen, Jennings. I'm going to sit Jennings. I'd play McLaurin and Thielen over Jennings this week. Mr. Magic says, yo, if Pollard misses, which 2 do I play? Devontae, Keenan, Spears? If Pollard misses, I would go Devontae and Spears. But obviously, if Pollard plays, you're going Devontae and Keenan. I do have Pollard on my squad as well. So if Pollard doesn't start, Devontae Smith, but Pollard does play, flex him over the guys, correct? Correct, yeah. If Pollard plays, I'm putting him in my lineup. Fantasy Football Season 1 says, is Mahomes still a Tier 1 QB in Dynasty 6-point passing touchdown leagues after a rough year and a half? Yes, he still is a Tier 1 guy, in my opinion. You may have, probably everybody's going to have to move him down. I still think the top tier, I guess it depends on how you view the Tier 1. Tier 1 to me is Josh Allen. Josh Allen's got to be number 1. I think Lamar's got to be in there, and I think you probably still have to put Jalen Hurts in there for fantasy football quarterbacks. And I think Mahomes probably falls himself right there. So if you want to put him at the back end of Tier 1 or the top of Tier 2, that's probably how I'm looking at him right now. But you have an argument as well where guys like Joe Burrow might be able to go over Patrick Mahomes. Maybe guys like maybe people like Jaden Daniels going into year 2 over a guy like Mahomes. I'm not saying that's what I'm doing, but I think I could see the argument for it. Is he still Tier 1 though? it would be tough for me to be, in a startup draft and pass on Patrick Mahomes after those three that I mentioned come off the board. Lamar, Josh Allen, and Hurts. It would be hard for me to pass on Patrick Mahomes. So I think I kind of view him in that 4 to 6 range for me in my rankings currently. But we're going to be updating the Dynasty rankings here on the channel in a couple of weeks. I think right as soon as the season is over, we're going to start updating all the Dynasty rankings, and we'll make videos on all of that. So we'll see officially where he falls in. But I think right now, just off of my gut, he's somewhere between 4 and 6. Marcy says 2 running backs, full PPR. I think I know the answer, but Bijan, Bucky, B-Rob, and Jerome Ford. Give me Bijan and Bucky. Those are the 2 that I'm playing. Hopefully those are the 2 that you said you think you know the answer to. So Davis, MHJ, Terry, Jerome Ford, and Patrick Taylor. Do I start Marvin Harrison Jr. or Terry as my wide receiver? Then of those remaining 3, which 2 do I start as my 2 flexes, PPR? Also Arizona or Philly defense. I'd go Arizona defense over Philly. For the players, do you start Marvin Harrison or Terry? I'm going to start Terry over Marvin. Then of the 3 remaining, which 2 are the flexes? I think it's Marvin and Ford. So I'm going to go Terry, Marvin, Ford as the 3 players that you'd play. 1 wide receiver and 2 flexes there. And then Arizona's the defense. Johnny says, how are your underdog tourneys going? I made round 2 in 5 of 13 and got bounced in all 0 Josh Allen shares. Yeah, so I made round 1, I think it was like 18 or 19 tournaments that I went through. So it was, but you know me, Johnny, I drafted like 58 tournament teams or something like that. So I went 18 of like 50, 58. Got into the first round there, advanced out of the first round into round 2 in 3 of those 18. So we got into round 2. Right now, we're going to see how that ends up going. And then next week, obviously, is round 3. So right now, we'll see how those 3 go. I had one team advanced that the wide receiver position is kind of cooked. I don't know how it keeps advancing because I have Chris Godwin on the team. Troy Franklin is one of the wide receivers. Roman Wilson is one of the wide receivers. And I can't remember the other one. Cooper Kupp. And he gave me a 0 last week. I don't know how the team advanced, but I guess it's because it has Jamar Chase and Saquon on the same team. So that's probably the only reason why it advanced. But that team's not looking good. Answering your question, though, 18 went into the round 1, and then 3 of the 18 went into round 2. So Marcy says, and echo Dixon's comment, I'm in Final Four in both my leagues thanks to you. So thank you, Marcy. Elenda, Mayfield, Burrow, or Goff, full PPR. It's Burrow for me. He's my number 1 quarterback on the week. Vico, fully PPR, pick 3, please. Adams, Bucky, Dowdle, JT, or Tyreek Hill. I'm going to go Adams, Tyreek, and then it's between the running backs. I got to reference my rankings here, though, because I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to go gut tells me JT, and I would go JT right now, just based off of the questionable tag for Bucky. So JT, Tyreek, and Adams would be my 3 at the moment. Marcy says, one more, full PPR, Hunter Henry or Tucker Kraft. Give me Tucker Kraft this week over Hunter Henry. I think he has a little bit better upside. Hunter Henry feels like he has it feels like he kind of needs to get a touchdown this week, and the Bills defense is pretty solid. In non-PPR, which 2 wide receivers? JJ, worried about the weather and rain. London, Shakir, or Reed? I'm still starting my studs. I'm not going to go too crazy. I'm starting Justin Jefferson and Drake London. Those would be my 2. I'm not overthinking it at this point. Yeah, hard to sit McLaurin. I've got Nico, Amon-Ra, and T. Only have space for 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. I think McLaurin has to sit. Nico, Amon-Ra, and T. I think he does. So I would probably be doing that. Niner, full PPR. Kendre Miller, Tyrone Tracy, or Romeo Dobbs. Start 1. Tyrone Tracy would be my play. Boswell, Fairbairn, or McLaughlin. Give me Boswell. Romeo says half PPR, start 1. Kendre Miller, Tracy, Tajay, or Debo. I'm going to go Tajay if Pollard doesn't play. If Pollard plays, give me Tracy. Roland, start, sit, in the flex, PPR, injuries, Sharps, Hollywood, or Coker. Thanks, bro. Okay, so if Kenneth Walker plays, which I think he's playing, I'm not playing Charbonnet. I think Jalen Coker would be my play there. I think I'd play Coker over Hollywood. Also, which defensive special team would you start, Green Bay or Atlanta? I would go with Green Bay. They're my number one on the week. Which to start in flex, PPR, Sharps, Hollywood, Coker, injuries killing me. It's going to be Coker. Pick 2, Jerome Ford, Kelsey, Shakir, Jalen McMillan, Waddle, Judy, half PPR. Thanks. I don't think Waddle's going to play this week. It sounds like he's doubtful. So I would go with... I'm going to go with Ford and Kelsey. Those are going to be my 2 plays. And I think we might be caught up all the way to the bottom. So that does put us caught up on the stream. So appreciate everybody for being here so far. If you still have questions, make sure you throw those in the chat. Happy to answer those if they're coming in. We're going to be answering these as long as you guys have them. If it starts to slow down and we don't have many more questions, then we'll take a break. But let's keep those questions in the chat. Appreciate you guys for being here tonight. Kyle Pitts back with Penix. Still tough for me to trust Kyle Pitts. I mean, let's just look at where I have him in my rankings. I can't trust Kyle Pitts for the life of me at this point in my life. Maybe I'm being too hard on the kid, but somebody needs to be hard on him. Everybody, hypes Kyle Pitts. Somebody's got to be hard on him. And it's a bad matchup against New York. I got him as tight end 18 this week, man. It's the same type of tight end play as Dalton Schultz and Chig Okonkwo for me. I guess to answer your question, I'm not in on Kyle Pitts this week. Thank you, Andrew. Hopefully I'll be back with more questions next week. I hope so too. Johnny says 56. 56 what? 56 drafts? Is that what we were talking about, Johnny? Now, I'll tell you what, I was making a tough start-sit decision in one of my leagues last night, actually. So I have a dynasty league where the team's loaded. And I was trying to decide between my last flex spot. My flex spot, this is a 10-team league as well. So just understand when I say the names, you're going to be like, how the hell do you have it's a 10-team league as well. So Jonathan Taylor, Brian Thomas Jr., and Ladd McConkey. Those were the 3 names that I was debating on. I benched Ladd. He had like 14.7 in our league, so it was a solid day. You'd like to have that in the lineup, but I don't think he did anything like special or anything crazy. I think I'm going to go with Brian Thomas Jr. over Jonathan Taylor. BTJ's been getting like 12, 13, 14 targets a game. I know they're coming from Mac Jones, but I feel like I need to play him in that situation. So that's kind of a tough start sit that I've been debating on all week, but I'm going BTJ. Davis says, is a no Pollard Tajay the start over Jerome Ford or Marv? Also, should I be wary about Juan Jennings? He's projected 15 points. So for me, when I'm looking at Juan Jennings this week, the projections are still probably okay. I guess it's going to depend on your platform that you're playing on. I'm viewing Juwan Jennings more so as a low-end wide receiver 2 this week. Miami is 3rd against the wide receiver position right now, only giving up 24.5 fantasy points per game. I think the projections are probably a little bit high at 15 if that's what he's being projected, but I still think he's a low-end wide receiver 2 type of play for you this week. As far as Pollard and Ford and Marv, I probably would play a no Pollard Tajay. When I look at the matchup, it is good. It is good for the Tennessee Titans. They should have a good matchup here. And you don't have to worry too much about potentially Jerome Ford dealing with the Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I think Tony Pollard against Indianapolis, that's probably where I would want to go, obviously. But if he doesn't go, Spears would be my number 1 guy on that board. So, yeah, Spears with no Pollard over those guys and Juwan Jennings. Lester, half PPR start 2. Rico Dowdle, Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Kendre Miller, Tajay Spears. Give me Breece and Walker. Those are the 2 that I'm playing in the half PPR. I'm just going with those 2 guys. Romeo, half PPR, thoughts on Njoku with DTR at QB. Should I play Kraft, Henry, Freiermuth, or Ertz instead? Let's look at these tight end positions, man, because I still think I lean Njoku. He's just much more talented than those guys. I have him as... Where do I have him? Oh, I have him lower in my rankings because of the injury. I guess if he plays, I'll have to reevaluate that ranking for sure because I have him ranked right now as if he's not going to play. I don't know if he's necessarily going to play. I would, of the other guys, go Kraft over all of them. I think Kraft has the best matchup of all of those guys. Njoku, I'm still not certain, is he playing? Have we got news on whether Njoku's playing? I need to look into this actually because I've been operating kind of as if he's not going to play this week. The latest I have on Njoku is David Njoku is listed as questionable for Sunday's game against the Bengals. Did not practice on Thursday though, so I don't know. It says Njoku's very motivated to play, but anytime the player's motivated to play, I don't know, man. So if Njoku plays, he's going to be the guy that I play over all of them, but Kraft is probably the most likely candidate because I'm not necessarily certain Njoku's playing. Let's go to Blizzard. Blizzard has a question that says, what's up? Would you go Jennings or Strange in PPR with a half tight end premium? Thanks. I think I'm going Strange, man. I think Strange would be my play with a premium. Would you start Smitty over London? No, I would play London over Smitty. Johnny says, Hollywood Brown, Patrick Taylor, or Josh Downs, PPR, 0.25 points per carry. Apologize for the nonsense, 56, dog on the keyboard. Fair enough. I was trying to figure out what the hell that was, Johnny. Points per carry, I probably lean Patrick Taylor. I'm between Josh Downs and Patrick Taylor, but I think I play Patrick Taylor there. Only because you're getting the points per carry. Tajay, Tracy, Hollywood, Kendre, at flex, full PPR. I'm going Tajay if it's not Pollard. If Pollard plays, I'm going Tracy. Tua or pick up Rodgers or May. I'm going to go Tua over those guys. And then Kincaid or Strange. Man, who would have thought we'd be at the day where we're debating, Brenton Strange and Dalton Kincaid. I'm gonna go Brenton Strange over Dalton Kincaid. I didn't think we'd be at this point, but we are. 1 equals 2. Lester, what are we talking about here, bro? I think that was a mess up. Maybe it's half PBR. Pick one for the flex. Cup, Brian Robinson, Ford, Cooper Cup is going to be my play. In that, I still think he's the most talented guy, and I think he has probably some of the best touchdown odds of those guys. C-Dog, pick 2, full PPR, DK, Terry, Jennings, Patrick Taylor. I'm going DK and Terry still in this situation. I'm going to play both of those guys and go from there. So those are going to be my 2 players. Abby, hey, great content. Keep crushing. Appreciate you, Abby. Last flex spot, half PPR, Cup, White, Pittman, Thielen. Appreciate you. Last flex spot between these and a half PPR. Give me Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup is going to be the player for me in this situation. C-Dog says, you think DK is finally going to have a good week? It's been rough for DK, man. It's been rough. It feels like JSN has surpassed him as at least the fantasy football wide receiver one for us, at least in those full PPR leagues. He's due, in my opinion. I'm looking at the matchup here for the Seahawks. Minnesota, they're dead last against the wide receiver position. 32nd. They're giving up 35.3 fantasy points per game. If he was to have a big week, it would be this week because the matchup tells us it should. At least the data of the matchup tells us it should. I still think he's probably a little bit more injured than we've thought going into the last couple of weeks. but I'm still playing DK Metcalf, and I think he does have a decent chance of having a good game this week. So yeah. What else we got? Pickens is out. Who should I flex at half PPR? Tracy, Pat Taylor, Kendre, Amari Worthy, or Odunze? I'm torn between Tracy and Pat. Those are the two that I would be between, and I would go Tracy over Pat in my own personal rankings. All right, I'm going to remind you folks too, got to do it. If you've never played on Underdog Fantasy, go to the App Store, look for an app that looks like this. I promise you're going to love it. You're going to get addicted. You can support this show by using our code League FFB when you sign up. They'll give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you sign up using that code. It supports this show, and you can draft with us all off season long. They do best ball drafts during the summer. We've been doing a ton of them. We did a ton of them last summer. Johnny, you saw him in the chat. A lot of these folks in the chat, we were doing drafts with them. It's a really fun way to just keep, engaged with fantasy football throughout the offseason, keep up with the news, keep up with all the good stuff. So strongly encourage you to do that. And they also have some drafts that are just for the NFL playoffs. If you want to draft a team for the NFL playoffs and watch them advance throughout the NFL playoffs, you can do that over on Underdog. Like I said, it'll support the show. They'll give you up to $1,000 in bonus cash, and it helps support this show. So I appreciate you guys with that. Now, says, yeah, I agree about Pat's role. What are we talking about here? I guess Pat's role with the Israel Abanikanda. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Israel Abanikanda. Yeah, I agree. Dylan, I'm going to get to this question. We do have a super chat in here, though. Half PPR, Patrick Taylor or Abdullah. Thanks, brother. I'm going Patrick Taylor over Abdullah. Scott, I think he just has better upside. I think I'm going to buy into that 49ers upside. We know that those running backs do all right. We know that they're a little bit risky right now with Patrick Taylor because of Abanikanda and some of these other guys. They're getting really slim here, but Abdullah, he's still a part-time role for me in this offense anyways. Excuse me, folks. Alexander Madison is still going to be involved, so I would definitely go with Patrick Taylor here. What do we got? We said we would go back to Dylan's question. He says, playoffs, baby, full PPR, different leagues, lost AK and Grendo. Start one running back and one flex. You got Abdullah, Odunze, Spears, Strange, Madison. So one running back and one flex there would be Spears, assuming it's no Pollard, and Strange. Those would be the two for me. One running back out of K9, Ford, Miller, Spears. I would go K9. One running back, one tight end, and one defensive special team. Between K9, Abdullah, Miller, I would go K9. Henry, Strange, I would go Strange. And then Green Bay, Buffalo, I would go Green Bay. So hopefully that answers all your questions there, Dylan. Do we think that Tracy will bounce back? What do you think the running back split will be? I think so. Look, I think he's the most talented running back in that backfield. And I think that there's a chance that if anybody's going to have the big game, it's going to be Tyrone Tracy. I think they still split. You'd like to see something like 70-30 and maybe closer to 60-40 with the matchup for Tyrone Tracy this week, though. Atlanta's a little bit tougher. It makes me a little bit nervous about him. I think he's more of a mid to low end RB2 this week, but he's still a guy that I think you can still get into the lineup. And I'm definitely trusting him way more than I trust like a guy like Devin Singletary. I'd probably view a Tyrone Tracy this week the same way I'm viewing a guy like Rachaad White potentially. Let's go to Marcy. She says, how did the drafts work in the offseason? So they do them very early. So we would be drafting for, like I said, you could draft during the NFL playoffs. You could draft for next year. So we would draft teams in May, June, July, August, and they would play the regular fantasy football season for next season. So we'd just be drafting them very early. It's a fun way because you end up getting good values on players that potentially rise. So if you follow trends or you do things like that, you can do it. But we do that in the offseason. Usually Underdog will split it with pre-NFL drafts, and then you get post-NFL draft. So you get to do a little bit of that. But it all is for next season, but we're just drafting them as early as as soon as the NFL playoffs are over. Devin says, bro, asking for a friend, Penix or Caleb? Give me Caleb, man. Caleb's the guy. I'd play him over Penix this week. Super chat from Luke. Luke, I appreciate the support as always. He says the GOAT is back. What's up, man? Can only start 3 wide receivers: JSN, T, BTJ, London, Lamb. Appreciate you. So let's go through all of these guys in my rankings right now because we'll just work our way down. When I'm looking at these 3 guys and I can only play 3 of them, this is a good list of 5 guys. I understand why you're probably having a little bit of a problem here. London is going to be the most, I guess Lamb is going to be the most high in my rankings. I have CeeDee Lamb as a top 6 wide receiver this week against Tampa Bay. They're currently ranked 24th against wide receiver position, so Lamb has to be in the lineup, in my opinion, out of these guys. The next guy would be Drake London. Drake London, I have as a top 10 wide receiver this week. He gets to go against the New York Giants. They're a little bit better against the wide receiver position, currently 11th, but he still should be a pretty solid play because I think that Michael Penix is going to target his number 1 wide receiver, similar to how he was doing to Rome Odunze there at Washington. So Drake London and Lamb both got to be in the lineup. And then when I'm looking at these other options, I'm not going to be playing JSN. It's going to be between T and BTJ. I think this is a toss-up. I lean T. Higgins. I think I like the offense a little bit more with T. Higgins and the Cincinnati Bengals. But BTJ, he's been getting a ton of targets over the last couple of weeks. The matchup against Las Vegas is mediocre. I think you could go either way. I have them back-to-back, 13 and 14 in my rankings, but you got 4 top 15 guys in my rankings this week. Lamb, London, and then probably your choice between T and BTJ. I lean T over BTJ. Appreciate you, Luke, as always. Kevin says, sup, my guy, Darnold or Goff. Also, Judy, McMillan, or DK, PPR, thanks. So I'm going to go DK at the wide receiver. We kind of just talked about him a little bit. When it comes to Darnold or Goff, I'm going to go with Sam Darnold. I kind of want to go Sam Darnold because I think that game's going to be more competitive, but the rain makes me a little bit nervous. They are back-to-back in my rankings. Chicago's pretty good against the against the quarterback position. I guess we're going to have to kind of be a little bit cautious of the rain. Goff is the safe play. And because they're back-to-back in my rankings, I probably go with the safe play in Jared Goff. So, yeah, I probably need to move Goff over Darnold because of the weather. So, I would go Jared Goff. Johnny says, who's better in a flex position? Kendall Jenner or Scarlett Johansson? I guess is that Kendall or Kylie? I'll probably go with one of the Kardashian girls, the Jenner girls. Maybe hot take, I don't know. I got me with that one. Johnny, you knew you could get me with that too. Let's see, man. I think we're all caught up on the chat. If you still have other questions, we still have about... I mean, we could go as long as you guys want for the most part. Usually we go about an hour. If it's slowed down a little bit, then we can end maybe a little bit early. But it's up to you guys. If you still have questions, throw them in the chat. I'm happy to answer them. If not, no worries at all. Ball's in your court. Still can't believe you, Johnny. Luke says Kincaid or Fergalicious. I think when I'm looking at the matchups, the matchup for Kincaid is solid. Ferguson's is better. I'm going Ferguson. I'm going Ferguson over Kincaid this week. And probably just trusting that matchup. It's 27th versus 20th at the tight end position. Kincaid is playing against New England, who's 20th. So I'd probably just go with Jake Ferguson here. Johnny says, LOL, love you, bro. Hey, I love you too, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, you knew it, Johnny. I get ripping through some of these questions, and if you started the way that you started there, who's better in the flex position? You can get me every once in a while. But I think we might be close to the end here, folks. I'm seeing the questions start to slow down a little bit, so I'm going to say last call. Throw the final questions that you may have into the chat. I'm going to answer it until we get to the bottom, and once we get to the bottom, I'll wrap up the stream. But I am going to call last call, so make sure you get those questions in the chat. Then I'm going to go find myself some dinner or something. All right, final question here. Luke says, you think Deontay is done, or could he find some value next year in Dynasty? Mostly I'm wondering because I have a lot of them. Yeah, I think he's still going to find value. In fact, I know that the waivers run in on Monday. And so when the waivers are on Monday, I almost guarantee he's going to be picked up. So I think he's going to end up on a team here at the end of the year. What he does in the last couple of weeks, I don't know if it really matters, unless he's going to like a playoff contender and ends up playing on a team that could win the playoffs or play in the playoffs. Maybe Kansas City. I don't know. But I think he has value in Dynasty. I'm not too worried about him. In fact, I'd rather him go somewhere else other than Baltimore right now for fantasy. Lester, appreciate the super chat. He says, half PPR, I don't know who to start. JSN, Juwan Jennings, Thielen, or Keenan Allen. Pick a defense, Cardinals or Bills, defensive special teams. Thanks for everything. So in a half PPR, between Jennings, Thielen, Keenan, and JSN, I think I'm still going to go with JSN. He's the player that I have the highest in my rankings, but this is half PPR, and the rankings that I have are full PPR. So I think if you're looking for half PPR, you want the receptions and you want touchdown upside, that's probably Adam Thielen. So I am going to play Adam Thielen in the half PPR league here. For the defense, Cardinals or Bills, I kind of want to go with the Bills against New England. So I'm going to go Bills and Thielen here in a half PPR. If you listen to Johnny says Keenan Allen against Detroit's going to be a smash, unfortunately, and he's the Detroit Lions fan. So there you are. And then I think we skipped this one accidentally. So this is the last question here. Lonely says PPR start to Spears, Kendra, Patrick Taylor, B-Rob. Start J-Mo or McLaurin, start Kraft or Strange. So I'm going to go Kraft over Strange, McLaurin over J-Mo, and then start 2 with the running backs. I'm going to go, assuming Pollard is out, it'll be Spears and B-Rob. If Pollard plays, it'll be Kendra and B-Rob. So hopefully that answers the question. But that's it, folks. That's all I have for you guys today. So I appreciate everybody being here, being in the chat, hanging out with me, even though I'm on vacation. The setup isn't as clean, and it doesn't probably sound as good as it does when I'm back home in the studio in the office. But appreciate you guys hanging out all the way through week 16, all the way through week 17. We got one more week after this week. Hopefully you guys all win your matchups this week. We're still doing a start sit stream on Sunday, so make sure you come hang out and ask those questions if you have them on Sunday before the games. And then hopefully we're all advancing onto our championship. So again, thank you guys for being here. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good YouTube stuff, help support the channel. And strongly, I'm just at this point of the year, I'm going to start kind of referencing this. Strongly encourage you folks that have not ever played Dynasty before, stick around in the offseason, learn a little bit about Dynasty. We do a ton of Dynasty fantasy football content on this channel, and it goes year round. So just because the fantasy football season is ending in 2 weeks doesn't mean that we are going to be ending the channel content in 2 weeks. It's still going to be full steam ahead all the way through the NFL draft, talking about rookies, talking about everything you need Dynasty fantasy football. So make sure you're sticking around for that. In fact, it's my most favorite time of year. I just love that content. So make sure you're around. But with all that being said, nothing else for you guys today. I will see you on our next one. Till then,